Hi, I'm Torch
Okay,
the
I should have said
Adjacent
the really
Prepper,
short people.
and this is 2 quick gameplay videos from Texas
Oh,
Paintball.
instead of
These
letting the
aren't
short
edited
people
for
go that way,
content, so
a
this
bunch of
is
those kids
just
tried to go under.
exactly how the gameplay runs. To give you a quick idea of what's going on, this is an attack and defend game. We've got the defenders set up in this village area. I believe it's the first thing that had to be attacked was the helicopter there, and then I believe there's a second target. May have been the airplane. 15 defenders up there. The attackers are starting in this buildings. The basic layout of the field is the attackers have the option of kind of going up this back route through a bunch of buildings, or they can go forward. There's a path right next to a creek bed. The area between the creek bed and the village is heavily wooded, so you can kind of pick your way through from the creek bed going up to the village, but you can't really go straight through the woods. It's just too dense brush. So down at the bottom, you've kind of got to go through the trail and then cut up. And we're attacking, so this is just everybody slowly gathering.
Yeah, I was thinking we'd go by Pump House. Everyone's gonna be going, everyone's gonna be going, here. Yeah. See what arises over there.
We run really fast. Just turn it like a little bit. Turn it just a little bit. Hey, Angel, I be careful.
Now, you can hear a little bit of music. There's actually, I think, 2 or 3 people who had like a Bluetooth speaker or something like that that they were carrying on their backs. And every so often they start playing music.
Let's go.
Oh, let's go! Apparently it's like
Let's go!
Slightly delayed start.
Watching? I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
And I'm just waiting for all the
waiting all the
really
fast
fast
people
people to go,
that way.
and then I'll go. Here we are cutting it through the woods up towards the village. This is way in the back of the village, and there's not particularly good cover to move into the village from here. Everyone's just kind of clogged up. You can see there's a few guys up there, and they're close enough they might actually be able to engage the other team. But all of these people just in the tree line are waiting. One of the problems this field has frequently is they become too popular, and there's probably about twice as many players as the field can actually support. But it's still fun. These woods are kind of partial cover. It's hard to see through, and BBs tend to get, like, they'll hit twigs and get deflected, they'll hit branches and get deflected, leaves, whatever. So occasionally you'll get shot, or get a shot through here, but it's kind of rare. I think he just got shot.
Hit! Nice shot.
And I'm out. So headed back to respawn. These games are set up so you can just go back to the starting point, tap yourself back in, and continue playing. Everyone's gets a total of 3 lives or 2 respawns, depending how you want to view it. And as you can see by how close I am to the spawn point, going through those woods is really slow and you don't make a lot of progress.
No.
Tap the respawn, back in. Since I already saw the woods are a mess, I'm going to try going down the road, see what's going on here. You'll see kind of the problem I mentioned earlier of having too many players, because these guys are just all bunched up. 2 people who can, 2 or 3 people looks like, who can actually shoot, and everybody else is just standing around waiting their turn.
Where is he?
I don't know, I can't see.
Okay.
Josh, you're our brute force just hurt us.
Any idea where he is?
No. I know he's in there.
In that set of trees?
Straight ahead?
Okay.
Yeah, he's under the bridge. He's under the bridge. Straight ahead.
There's one under the bridge and one in there. Oh, God.
Okay.
We could go
Have
down.
him cross down.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan.
There hasn't been a lot of rain, so that creek's pretty dry.
Somebody closer to the creek on the right side. Well, we're in down on this side, and we're going to be down on this side.
At this point, there's 5 of us trying to hide behind that tiny little boat.
Where's the answer point out? I think he's like a level with the rest of these, but in the middle. He's pretty far in there. Hey, watch your back. I'm out of the bridge. You cover me? Yeah! Good shit, buddy. Move it up. Let's go, guys. Move up.
I should have my gun down during that rush instead of muzzling these guys. That was my bad.
One middle. We're out.
I'm kind of another situation where the guys who all rushed up there are crowding a very small piece of cover.
Not in the boat?
Where are they, soldiers? Where are they, soldiers? Where they at? Where they at?
I don't know. He's still like kind of bored.
Oh. Look at him. Oh.
So I'm mostly waiting for a good opportunity to move
Can I
on.
get down?
Yeah, why not?
I'm way too big for this piece of cover. Dang.
Hit!
Feels like they hit something on my helmet. Might have actually been the camera mount. And back in. So we've got some players who are out.
Can I shut off myself on YouTube?
Now, this part I'm going to mute. This kid saw the camera on my helmet and assumed I had more than 5 YouTube subscribers and decided he needed to do a shout out to, I have no idea who. But it was mostly profanity. I couldn't quite make out everything he was saying because I think he was trying to rap. But I just don't want that on my channel, so.
We got tower. Go. Alright, push up guys, got tower. Let's go.
We gotta get flag, Hey, no, left of the bridge.
So looking for targets again.
Get out of the X. Get out of the kill zone.
It's kind of funny, that guy came up and said get out of the X, and he's not wrong. I shouldn't have been staying there in the open. And then he immediately stands where I had been in the open. Whatever.
Hey, he's laying to press the fire to this way. Did he hit? He looks like it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, he's just chilling.
At this point, we're more than halfway across the field. I think we may actually be getting close to the defender's spawn.
Those guys friendly? Yeah, he's friendly. You gotta get behind the car, he's friendly. Okay.
There's the tower they mentioned earlier. At most airsoft fields, if you see a tower or a two-story building like that, usually it's a bit of a death trap. Like, if you get up there, yes, you have a long line of sight, but everyone can see you too, and most of them are looking your way. Really not a place you want to be. And I don't actually know who won that game,
Nice.
but it was probably us considering how far across we'd made it. Just switching out the mag. Those sandbags are actually cement. They took some real sandbags, filled them with cement, ran a couple steel spikes down through all of them to keep them in place, and just hosed them down. So when the actual sandbag itself decayed, essentially, you ended up with cement that looked like sandbags. And that's been there for at least 5 years.
Whoever ran for it, I tried to make for it.
Right.
I was like, that dude's probably going to die before he gets to it, but probably going to
Usually Texas Paintball will run 2 games. We all go out to the field area, split into teams,
Oh, I'm out of ammo.
play 2 games, and then go back to staging. So at the moment, the refs are trying to figure out how many people stayed here so they can figure out how many defenders they're going to need. I think that flag that you just saw off to the side may have been what the objective was. A lot of guys who are really trigger happy or having really good games will have gone back to staging and not stick around for the second game.
Your microdosing isn't working, Rondo.
I do. Would it be Mondo if I wasn't a schizo?
Still waiting.
All right, guys. I need 15 defenders. Come get an armband.
The armbands are a bit of a joke because at the engagement distances, usually you can't see the armbands. You just assume if somebody's pointing a gun in your direction, they're the other team. And don't get me wrong, having armbands is better than not having armbands. This field used to not use them at all, and I suppose there used to be more friendly fire incidents than there are now. As you can see, we definitely had fewer players than the previous game. If you'll notice, a lot of the guys are wearing packs. That's mostly hydration. This field used to require everyone to carry water when going onto the field, and it's Texas. In the summer, that's really a good rule to have. This was in March, so it wasn't really that big a deal. It wasn't that hot. But most people carry water anyways. I was carrying water when I was out.
You can go on the right if you want to. You live in a valley. And the narrator gets upset. Stanley decided to take the door on the right, but in the next room he will definitely take the door on the left. And so then you're like, huh, I still have a choice. And you start to think like, maybe I should just rebel with this guy. Looks like I have full control. But then eventually he starts to assert control over you. And even
Actually, I think the guy with the yellow backpack is actually a hydration bladder on the back of a Condor chest rig.
philosophically that maybe
I've tried them, it didn't work well for me. Left the weight too low on my back. I definitely prefer standalone packs for hydration.
you're in a room, and then he goes, you thought he asked me, but really I did that. Over time, that's why you got to put it down. And he goes, there's only one button in the room, it's stop. Can you find it? And there's like thousands of buttons. You're frantically pushing all of them. Laughing at the edges.
And I'm just chilling kind of in the back of the group. I figure I don't want to be in the way of the guys who are going to be sprinting out, and at the same time, I just didn't feel like being the guy who's sprinting out. The players wandering in.
Talking about the gun?
All right, gentlemen. Someone point me to the building that is your respawn. Ah, yeah. Thank you. Make sure we're all set. Receive your all good to go down here, liberal.
I think one of my biggest complaints about this field is actually how much time is spent between games. Because there'll be times where it feels like I'm at the field 4 hours and I only play 10 minutes. It's not really that bad, I'm exaggerating, but there's still big gaps. So apparently they didn't have enough defenders and are asking for a couple more volunteers.
Wait! Yeah! Oh, never mind. You going left? Yeah. Alright.
Hey, bro. You gonna go middle?
Hop in?
Yeah.
Like, are you getting your picture?
I know it's boring footage, but this is just what Airsoft is. It's not all the little kill streak videos and things like that you see. There's a lot more gaps between the action than there is actual action. But it's still fun.
Everything's hiding.
I'm going to go up through the village this time. I've had a few games in the past where going down by the creek worked out really well because I got to flank. Yeah, it's been a long time since that's happened. That was back when they had probably less than a third as many players as there are now.
Hey, at least it's a short walk.
Sniper got shot out pretty quick. Save back in. A lot of structures at paintball and airsoft fields get nicknames. This stone structure is known as the Alamo.
Yeah, there was somebody behind him, and the BBs are gonna hit the wreck too much. I can't go that way.
So this is right at the edge of the field. You can see the netting there off on the right, or in the left. It's kind of a little U-shaped shack. And very little you can actually shoot at from in here, because most of your view is just to take one. Chrono areas on the other side of that netting. Coming out the back and just wrapping around. Take a peek, look at the targets, take another peek, see where everyone else is looking. If anyone's curious, I'm shooting at about 1.1 joules with 0.30 BBs. This field allows rifles to go up to about 1.5 joules, but if you go beyond 1.1 joules, you get a 20-foot minimum engagement distance, and they ask that you stick your gun at least halfway out windows when you're shooting out of buildings. And that's just kind of awkward and too much of a disadvantage, so that's why I'm running lower energy. You can hear that little crack looking for targets. One of those guys with the backpack speaker that I mentioned earlier.
Getting shot left.
So that buzz is just a camera malfunction. This is what happens when you use a 5-year-old camera that you bought for $40 off Amazon. It actually works surprisingly well. see that guy who made a move up towards the barrels got shot. So I'm trying to now look at who shot him. Bunch of friendlies just moved up. And even more people moving up. I think it's probably clear, so I'm making a sprint through the open.
Where are you going? Where's the enemy?
Don't shoot a tower. Tires. Yeah.
You couldn't quite tell, but he asked me to cover him. I don't actually know where the enemy is, so I'm just throwing some random BBs downrange. Best way to provide cover fire is to actually shoot the enemy, instead of just like randomly firing. But I couldn't see where they were, so that's the best you can do. And we're most of the way across the village at this point. The airplane's kind of cool. I have no idea how they managed to get ownership of an old airplane and dump it out there on the field. But it makes for a cool accessory. And see people bunching up at that building in front of me, so I can't really move up. It's not a horrible line of sight from where I am, though. That was actually pretty quick. I think we spent more time dividing teams than we actually did playing. Taking our mag out, clearing shot, friends reholstering their pistols, and headed back to staging.
Sorry.
This is just paintball netting, but it works perfectly well for stopping BBs. And this field hosts paintball and airsoft, so that's why you see some paintballers floating around here. Usually this covered area is mostly paintballers, and the airsofters are kind of beyond it near the parking. We'll cut it off here.